I'm not gonna lie to y'all. When this Genki Damatsuri event got announced, I think I had more apprehension toward Dragon Ball coming out with something like this concerning the 40-year anniversary of a mega series, a thing that no longer has the directionality of a Toriyama, may he rest in peace, and a series that has fallen under such sort of annoying hardship. Annoying, I say, because it's not as if the game hasn't been doing, not the game, but the series hasn't been doing well financially. It's just that culturally, Dragon Ball's significance had begun to sort of wane and falter in recent years. We were seeing very long periods of time without anything really interesting to say for Dragon Ball. And more than anything, and this is something I've been criticized about my negativity, and I've been critical of the product, but the games as they've been handled have not always been the most complete, have not always been the most finished or polished, pretty sure. And I'm certain when I say that Dragon Ball just has such an iconic style, and I think so many artists do want to work on something like Dragon Ball. So we end up getting sort of over, like, what is it, like, over delivering on sort of poor concepts a lot of times when it comes to the games. But that man, Genki Dama Tsuri, really has restored a kind of faith that I think I needed as a Dragon Ball fan, you know. And this video is going to be a little bit more of a just a yap session about my experience with Dragon Ball. Like, here's the thing when it comes to like shonen anime. It's not that oftentimes shonen anime is the most like profound thing you ever watch in your life. You know, I've seen The Sopranos. I've seen, you know, in the anime space, I've seen like Vinland Saga. I've seen, you know, any number of things, right? Like, it's not that we take shonen, which is inherently a genre, you know, directed at children, and we hold it up to the same expectations, the same pedestals as something like, you know, Godfather 2, right? But there is still an artistry to shonen, and there's a respect that I would like to see in my shonen paid to these artists who are still telling stories, who are still culturally significant in their medium, and who are still dominating the big screen, as it were, in 2026, 2025. And when I would see Dragon Ball sort of ripped apart by its various limbs, with Toriyama aging and then later passing away, and the corporations that sort of control the brand, I don't know, it's sad, right? It's sad. It almost feels like through the diminishing of Dragon Ball's IP, we're sort of watching the passage of time where, you know, there was a period of time where we're all so much younger and Dragon Ball was treated with its due respects, and now we arrive at 2025 and we're seeing a new era of modern anime sort of push its significance out and being replaced by, and weirdly enough, I say this because like JJK is one of the big dogs right now, but I don't think JJK has gotten a great share of games either, which is very funny. It's, if anything, they hoe JJK when it comes to games. Sorry, anyone who's like a big, if JJK is your form of Dragon Ball, I am so sorry for what they do to your games. But yeah, at least on the animation front, I remember the first time I had really fallen out of love, quote unquote, I think, with Dragon Ball, after watching it since I was a kid, following it religiously, rewatching it, rereading it, etc., buying all the games, was probably around the time Super came out. And when I was watching it, that feeling just kind of disappeared because the animation style wasn't there. The sensation of, you know, like almost like derivative of the manga but excelling in its own right wasn't there. It was just sort of this odd looking amalgamation of ideas to me. And over time, particularly around the time DBS Broly came out, is when I really started to appreciate Super for what it could offer. I think without Dragon Ball Super Broly, I don't know if I could call myself a particular fan of Super. That was me sort of seeing the vision. That was me sort of acknowledging the interesting sort of cross section of modern and retro Dragon Ball, and that was me, giving blue hair a chance in things like Dragon Ball Fighters and Sparking Zero and so on, Dokkan and Legends and so on and so forth. So it's been a weird time for me in Super. It's been a very weird time, but I will say that as far as the narrative component of Dragon Ball, the through lines, because as I said before, it's not like any shonen really is meant to, be your only resource as far as telling a story goes. I mean, these, like I said, these are typically still simpler stories, graspable stories aimed at younger readers, entry level, narratives aimed at younger readers. And at least in the case of Super, Moro seemed to always be the one that was most interesting to me. If they were going to go this route, I feel like Toyotaro had finally found his style as far as his art went. He had, and again, it's nothing. It's not like I'm saying that Super has like always been ugly. It was always ugly until Dragon Ball Super Broly came out. It's nothing like that. It was more so the style clashed with my sensibilities, which is fine. And it's fine if it's your favorite thing ever too. But I think around the time that Moro Arc came to pass, Toyotaro had really found his version of Dragon Ball. And that's why I'm sort of so excited to see the 40th year anniversary of Dragon Ball be treated so well. Because I finally feel like after over what must be a decade, Dragon Ball had a show, an event that felt wholly positive the entire way through. And I don't know, it's odd that it had to come to this far. Things like, I know Daima has been a very divisive series for a lot of people, but Daima is another good example of feeling like something Dragon Ball was finally being realized week to week without the hard lines and the sort of bland representation that a lot of Super had for a while. And I can't imagine getting a new series of Super now where it's of that quality, but we're now sort of seeing these now iconic versions of Goku and Vegeta and the gang, the blues, the gods, the UIs, and even the egos eventually, and it being realized so well. It's very exciting in that way. There's just nothing but positive things to heap onto this event. I think they just showed a lot of what the series could maintain in the upcoming years, and it was nice to see Nozawa looking so healthy as she, of course, gets older. Time comes for us all, but feeling so healthy, feeling so there, it's really beautiful. I hope everyone in these studios, given that Japan has been going through a bit of an animator crunch, I hope they're all healthy. I hope they're all doing well. They seem to be putting a lot of hard work into something Dragon Ball for once, and it's exciting, man. It's exciting. I said a year ago, I think, that I want Dragon Ball, if they're not going to, give it its just due, then I want them to use Dragon Ball's IP as a medium to tell different stories, and not to worry about canon in terms of manga and the like. Give us a Trunks and Goten spin-off. Give us this and that. Give us more Super Broly doing things. Don't always be so directly focused on Goku if you're not willing to write Goku properly. That was a big thing, is this, with Super and the weird components of Goku that sort of come up now and then. Like, it really did for a long time feel like Dragon Ball was just doomed to be sort of stagnant in this way. But yeah, I'm wowed. I'm wowed by the Genki Dama Matsuri. It's still going on as I record this. They're doing a bit of talking in the background, and I wanted to sort of get some early thoughts out. We've still yet to see anything Dokkan or Legends related. It's not really my focus. I want to talk about the anime. I'm sure the Dokkan bits will be good. I'm sure the Legends bits will be good. I'm sure whatever they have planned for the game. Sparking Zero stuff looked fun. But this is about the show. This is about the legacy. This is about the IP actually being used for something positive and not just as a vehicle to print money, which Dragon Ball will always do. you know, I as you get older, as you move out of your teens into your 20s, into possibly your 30s or beyond, you know, your elasticity gets a little bit worse. Your desire to look at and watch and read things that are new and exciting gets a bit worse, and you have to constantly be training that muscle. And in that way, an anime that I really enjoyed from this season has been Gachiakuta, who I think is doing everything right, especially comparatively to its peers with JJK, CSM, Demon Slayer, etc., sort of on the fringe. And it felt, watching Gachiakuta for the first time in a while, that I was seeing something in the shonen space, at least, because, you know, I've been watching other genres in anime as well. At least in the shonen space, I was feeling something be exciting again. Not that, you know, nothing against CSM or JJK or whatever. I've watched the recent JJK episodes. They're pretty fun as well. But to see a world sort of light up in front of me, a unique world, a unique presence, and get that feeling of like, this is something that I haven't felt like I've seen over and over again, was cool. And in the case of Dragon Ball, in the case of going to the moral arc specifically, I'm sort of getting that like buzz of like, oh, it's happening. We see the key art. We see the concept for what they want to do with the modeling. We saw the 40-year rollover of everything they've done using the manga panels. Like, I have that sensation that I could be seeing something I haven't really seen before. And that was the same sensation I felt when we first saw the Daima models. Because even though it's like, oh, it's Kid Goku, they're kids again, Daima babies, blah, blah, blah. Sure, whatever. One of the things I was always really impressed with is how good modern Dragon Ball could actually look again. And it was surprising. It was very surprising. So we'll have to see. The Beerus one looks pretty okay. Like, I'm not, you know, we're seeing Beerus for the 4th time. You know, it's cool, but it's not exactly what I'm here for. I hope that the people who want it are excited. I really like Beerus as a character. I just wish they would stop rehashing this one thing over and over. I said it before. I said it in a tweet, and you can follow me at Club VLone on Twitter, but my fear for a remake is that because I know what the base looks like, you have to show me, you have to exceed my expectations, or I'm going to wonder why you even made a remake, right? And I think in the case of the beer stuff, it does look very good. It does look very pretty. So we'll have to wait and see if it actually pushes the IP forward and does not simply use the IP to coast. If we're not simply watching Beerus, you know, fight Goku again for the 4th time and going, yep, that's him. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, a very, very positive event. I just feel like Dragon Ball is back in a big way. I feel like it's finally back in a big way where we don't kind of have to be coping when we say that. And I know, guys, if you're still here, breathe a sigh of relief. Breathe a sigh of relief, because I get it. Please know that I get it, guys. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. We've been kind of like coping with Dragon Ball for a long time. We've been like, no, it doesn't look that bad. No, Super doesn't look that bad. This and that is actually pretty good. No, this is written pretty well, guys, you know. And we've been taking some L's. It's fine. You know, I feel like we can admit that. I feel like we can admit we've taken some L's over the years with Dragon Ball. And we've just been trying to make the best out of a kind of weird situation. And I think we're finally arriving on the other side. I think we're arriving on a side where the Dragon Ball IP is ready to come out of its sort of weird cocoon, its corporate cocoon, because bear in mind, nothing that has happened to Dragon Ball do I blame on any of the animators or anything. This is all corporate. The thing I'm excited by is that we're going to get the corporate side to calm down and let the people who are really passionate about this thing cook. So, yeah, just a bunch of random scattered thoughts. Hope this was enjoyable. Hope if this was interesting at all to anyone here. I'll see you back for more Bleach Soul Resonance and Dokkan Battle. But yeah, like you like the video, subscribe to the club. We all go make it, and peace.